Well, good morning, everyone. I'm David Madison. I'm the Executive Director of the Southwestern Association of Episcopal Schools, and welcome to our webinar this morning. We're going to look at best practices of the admissions office. We've got a great panel pulled together. Really looking forward to an engaging hour about how we can make sure our admissions offices is performing at a high level. So a couple of pieces of housekeeping. We are recording this, so we will have a copy of the recording as well as a copy of the slides that will be available to you in the webinar library on our website. You'll need your login credentials to access that. If you need assistance with login credentials, just give Pat Blevins a call at our main office, and she'll make sure you have access to both the recording as well as a copy of the slides. Also, the Q&A box, if you will find the Q&A button, for most of you, it's at the bottom of your screen. If you'll click on that, that's going to be the way you interact with panelists today. My hope is we're going to have plenty of time for Q&A and give and take, and so you'll be using the Q&A box for that. If you'll open that right now and type in the city that you are joining us from, that's the way that we make sure Q&A is working. So just open the Q&A and type in the city that you're joining us from, and we'll just make sure that we're getting those in, and I am seeing them cascade in. So welcome to everyone: Odessa, Houston, Shreveport, Bernie, Dallas, all sorts of folks. So welcome to everybody. We're gonna have a great hour. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to our Director of Professional Development, Mary Katherine Duffy. Mary Katherine, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. This is such an exciting webinar. This is, we did not do this webinar last year, and I think it's such an important topic. And so I am honored to be able to present this, and really honored actually to be able to present the people who are going to be presenting it. So we have three guest panelists today, and obviously this is not my area of expertise. And so I thought, let's get the best of the best on here to talk about how they do admissions. So I want to introduce them, and then I'm going to turn it over to them. We're going to start with Paige McKay. Paige is the Director of Admissions and the Chaplain at All Saints Episcopal in Lubbock. And then we have Melissa Patterson, who is the Director of Admissions at St. George Episcopal School in San Antonio, and Aaron Hawkins, who serves as the Director of Admissions at TMI Episcopal in San Antonio. And we are honored to have all three of them here. They have a lot of great information to share with us. And you're going to, as David said, you're going to get this information. There's a lot of text here. We did this because we wanted to be sure that you had the ideas. You can certainly take notes, ask questions, and then if you have additional ones, you're going to be able to get that information. You're going to have Aaron's and Melissa's and Paige's information if you need to email them at the later after the webinar is over. So we're going to talk about three focus areas today. We're going to talk about the admissions funnel. We're going to talk about onboarding new families, and then we're going to talk about the idea of retention of current families, which I think this is something we talked about at the onset with the group, about how we oftentimes we focus only on the idea of how do we get new families, and the real thing is that we have current families that we need to re-engage and make sure that they come back. And so as David mentioned, we've got a couple of webinars that are kind of back to back. We've got this one this week, and then we've got marketing for re-enrollment next week. And they're supposed to work in conjunction because we know that you're in re-enrollment season and in enrollment season. And so hopefully you'll get lots of good information today. So I'm going to turn it over to Paige. Paige, but before we do that, let's do a poll question, because we want to know kind of what your role at the school is. And so David has loaded a poll question. What role do you serve in your school? Are you a director of admissions? Are you a head of school? Are you a board member? Or are you another role? This will help our guest panelists kind of understand kind of the perspective that you are on. So we're going to give you just a minute to answer that question.
Those questions are rolling in. We've got everyone who has responded. Maybe the first time we've actually had 100% on a poll.
Excellent.
There we go.
All right, good. Okay. So we've got 40% are directors of admission. We've got 5 school heads, and we've got 4 that are other. And so we're welcome to the other as well. We don't know what other means, but that doesn't matter because you're here and you're here to learn. So I'm going to turn it over to Paige, and she's going to kind of get us started on.
I love this. Thank you. I'm asking a favor first, Mary Katherine. Are you going to continue to drive this Okay,
I
good.
am. And so if I don't go where you want me to go, just tell me to go to the next slide.
No, I love that because you're going to keep me going where I need to go too. So that's going to be good. Hi, I'm another. So welcome to the others. I'm one of those others as well. Yes, I'm director of admissions, but I'm also chaplain here at All Saints in Lubbock, Texas. So greetings from Texas Tech University. I am excited because I get to kick us off, and then I get to kick back and listen to the other two esteemed facilitators, speakers today who know lots more than I do. So it will be much fun to learn from them. I'm sharing with you a little bit today, first off about the admissions funnel. And I don't know about you guys, I am knee deep in that right now as well. In fact, I've got a new parent meeting in an hour and a half, and so excited to have that mid-year right now. But the first step in our admissions funnel, I love the graphic that we've got here, is dealing with those prospects and dealing with those inquiries. And just to kind of do a little identification of what they are, those inquiries are going to be when those parents reach out to the school. They've either stopped by or they've reached out. If you have the abilities for them to do that on your website or through social media or a phone call, any of those things, they're interested in learning more about the school. That's that first step. And if you guys don't, I'll say this a couple of times while I'm talking, if you don't hear anything else I say, the best thing you can do with in dealing with any of these folks, whether they're a prospect, an inquiry, an applicant, or an admit, is to respond to them. That's the best thing you can do is to reply, to make sure they know they've been heard. Nothing worse than someone just sitting out there, because what are they going to do? They're going to go to the next school. They're going to give up on us and go to the next school. So best thing you can do is always to respond to them. A little bit about that. Then let's see here, as we talk about working with these folks who have wanted to have some interest in your school, there's the process of then wanting to get an application from them and wanting to have tours, wanting to set up a time for them to come. I should have said at the very beginning, this is such a crazy time to try to be doing any of this stuff because of obviously the pandemic and COVID, and different areas of the country have different priorities in how they're doing things. Here in Lubbock, the way we are doing things is very different than how some of our competitors are choosing to do things. This week, one of our competitors is having a big open house, masks optional, as many people as they can get in the door. So excited to talk about preschool, pre-K, and kinder. And I'm like, good for them. Yes, that's not exactly how we've been working things. And we hope to have things back to whatever the new normal is this fall, but we're not there yet. And so when I talk about touring and applications and getting folks together and things like that, it all comes with a caveat on what your school has deemed appropriate in your environment. Here in Lubbock, we've made the news for not so good choices as a college town in terms of COVID. And we've done our best to show that that's not how it necessarily is all over town. So we work hard to be very safe first. That being said, we are doing individual tours here. I am doing tours on our campus with a group, like a mom and a dad, or a mom and a grandma, or something like that, but not, hey, 50 of you come on over and let's learn, let's learn about the school. So anyway, we have an inquiry. Once the inquiry has reached my desk, the next thing that happens is we set up a time for them to come learn more about our school at their comfort level, whether it's a virtual tour or a live come see us in person tour. Then we're wanting to get application from them. And then after that point, after we get the app from them, then we need to go through the steps we need to vet that student, whether it's testing, whether it's a visit with the division head, we'll talk about that in a second, or whatever. And then we're able to make a decision on the application of that student. And then that student reaches enrollment. So they go through those 4 different phases of where they are. We can go ahead and pop to the next screen if that's okay. Now, inquiries, how are they received at our school? Like I mentioned earlier, they can call, they can email, they can drop by. We don't have a lot of drop-bys in the last year, I will be honest, but the other ones we do have. We have a chat, online chat on our website that we set up a year ago. Well, yeah, probably almost a year ago. And I would love to tell you that it's been revolutionary and it's changed the way we do business. It doesn't for us internally, but what it's done is given folks one more way to reach out to us. The graphics over on the left of your screen, they're just a couple of screenshots of our online chat feature that we have on our website. And we man it. We publicize that we will be live to chat with folks 9 to 11, I believe that's correct, every day. I'll be on there Tuesday. Normally I'm on there Tuesdays, 9 from 11, which just means it's up on my computer and I'm around. I've got a buddy doing that for me today. But what that gives folks is just one more way, instead of dropping by, another way that they could reach out to the school with information. We probably get maybe 2 folks a month, 2-3 folks a month. I had one over the weekend that I'm still trying to follow up with that reached out to us. That it's just nice to say one more way that someone else can reach out to us: call, email, drop by, or visit our online chat.
Yeah,
So,
Paige, one of the things that I think is important I think you can't reiterate that enough, this whole concept of a variety of ways to contact the school. I don't know about other people, but nothing frustrates me more or makes me walk away quicker than to call and get a recording, or to email and get a response that's a rapid response or whatever. So I think that's really cool, this idea of an online chat, or just a place where people are monitoring it, you know? So I'm glad you brought that up.
it is, you guys know, and not knowing everyone's school setup exactly, we serve parents who have, we start school here at age 3 and we go through high school. So we've got that veteran parent who's got, high school age children wanting to find out about the school. And then we've got these wonderful millennial parents that, could be my children at this point in life, but who are very young. And they respond differently. Some of them want to pick up the phone. Others have no desire to talk to anybody ever, right, and would just like to do it all electronically. And so being able to appeal to all of that, to all of those different styles of information gathering, this is just the next step in doing that. So I highly recommend a variety of ways, and then monitoring and checking on them. What's important to collect, you guys know that already, but obviously you need the parent's name, you need the parent's email, you need their cell, you need their address. I love the child's name because that's how I can personalize my communications with them, is then to turn around and turn it into not your child or the student or the prospect. It's all, tell me about Kai. Tell me more about Kai. Kai's our new student today. But, it's like, tell me more about that person. You already are differentiating yourself because you're talking about a child and not an entity, not, a commodity or something. And that doesn't happen everywhere. So just remember that part.
Hey, before we move on, we've had a question with regards to the online chat. Question about whether or not you can suggest a platform to use for that. Is that part of your website, or is that a third-party platform?
It is. It's a function of our website, and we use a product that's called Hey Oliver. No idea where that came from, but it's called Hey Oliver, and it's a component that our webmaster was able to add into our website. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. For us, it's good enough. It's very open-ended, which I like. But anyway, so it's called Hey Oliver.
And I think Aaron just typed one called, I think it's Chatport, but there's lots of different options out there. So
yes,
part of that's going to be just kind of digging in, and there's 2 you can start with, and just looking around to find one that works for you.
Right.
And then we also have an online inquiry form, just FYI, that folks who just want to fill out a form and don't even want to live chat, they can also just fill out a form, and that just forwards to us as well. That's a function of our website too. Just FYI on that one. Let's talk about tours. This is my favorite part, and this is the weirdest part during COVID to talk about, but there is no better way for a person to get a feel for your campus than to come to your campus and to be there, period, end of. We can talk about all sorts of virtual tours and wonderful things that incredible schools have spent lots of really good money on, which are great. View books and, you know, all these things, videos, love that. Nothing replaces getting to walk around that campus and showing someone your school. We have a closed campus right now here in Lubbock. We aren't even letting our parents on campus, which I have to get comfortable with that. The fact that we won't let parents on campus, but we'll let prospective parents on campus, but I'm wrapping my brain around that. But we have a couple of different ways to do that. I would love maybe to be that type of campus that says we only have tours at certain times on certain days at certain points of the year. We're in Lubbock. It's a really competitive market, and that's not how we get to operate. We usually do tours whenever it works for someone who wants to come have a tour, you know, and that's exhausting and awesome all at the same time, because we can make them feel like their schedule is important. We have ongoing opportunities. They can always come Tuesdays at 9, and we will be happy to give them a tour. We've backed off of that this year because of COVID, and it's more of a, we'll chat with you at 9. So normally what we're doing right now is scheduling tours at our parents' convenience, obviously ours too, but at our parents' convenience. I say our, I don't know who our is. Our is me. I mean, I don't know who I'm saying is doing that other than me, but I'll do them whenever it works for them, basically. What I love about scheduling a tour just with one family is the things you guys know about. You get to be one-on-one. You get to customize it to that parent. You get to customize it to that child. If you've done a little bit of homework beforehand, you know what that child is interested in, so you can make sure you're including orchestra or band or art or robotics or whatever it might be. You can get in that classroom. I love to ask students to talk to these folks for us. Even 3-year-olds have great things to share about what's their favorite part of their day, you know, and so getting them to share and talk a little bit is the best thing in the whole wide world. They walk away, prospective families do, seeing these engaged, happy children that want to brag on their school. And I love that. Even if the best part of their day is lunch, I love when they share that part too. You know, it all works. We do it a variety of ways. In a non-COVID year, we also have parents that can serve as ambassadors that maybe want to tag along on a tour. If I know enough in advance, I get somebody I'll get a parent who's got a child with similar interests to have them be a part of that tour. But I've got sort of a posse of parents that are willing and have time to be able to do that. Not doing that this year, but in a normal year, we do that.
Yeah, but Paige, couldn't you do something, even though you can't do that, maybe have them on campus, just still, and Melissa's going to talk about once they get onboarded, but couldn't you do still like maybe even a virtual tour, or after you've done a tour, you could have a parent that picks up the phone and says,
Yes.
Hey, I know you toured the school and Paige told me that your kid likes this. I wanted to share with you what we're doing while we like.
That's exactly what we do. Yes. Since
Yeah.
I can't have them necessarily up here with us, because that makes my circle too big to walk around with in terms of, you know, kind of COVID safety and distancing. After that, I always am able to get a parent or two to reach out to them to say exactly what Mary Katherine just said. Our tour, I will tell you too, that one of the best things that works for us here, and those who know me, I will laugh at this probably, but is not to rush it. You know, they've come from tours at other schools that were maybe 20 minutes. They get out of the car, come in, get a 5-minute tour, get a packet, have a little conversation, and leave. Our tours here, when I work with them, I always tell them, give me an hour, let me show you the school. And that hour usually turns into about an hour and a half because of questions and conversation. And those parents leave feeling heard, feeling acknowledged, feeling like their child will be valued there because we're taking the time to get to know them. It's not me, it's just our school culture, but we're taking the time to get to know them, and we want them to know us. If you're on a campus that's not allowing in-person tours, I totally get that. And I shake your hand and I say, good for you guys, because you're doing what you need to keep people safe. Yes, you can do virtual tours. I've done some of those as well. All you really need is a phone to do that and a steady hand, you know, or one of those really cool things you can hold that makes it steady for you. I have one of those, I don't know what they're called, but someone who knows that knows, but they're awesome. And we walk around, and I literally walk around with my phone and act like they're right here with me. And we talk to kids and we talk to teachers. and it works. Like I said, it's not ideal, but it works. Most important thing, follow up after the tour.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
go
honey, you're
forward.
good. You're so good. I told people I'd say that several times. Follow up after the tour. Okay, follow up. So they've come on your campus for a tour. Some of those folks have already applied. Some of those folks may not have applied yet. You know, I don't make someone apply before they can have a tour. I don't know. I think that's asking a lot. I love it when they do, but I don't require that. And so I get basic information before the tour, but then after that, I may send them off with an application and tell them I hope to hear from them soon. I'll be following up with those friends if I don't have one yet. The minute I get their application, we put that into the system as well. You know, we've put their basic information in there. Now we're just building our file on them. There's a ton of different products out there that you can use for your system, you know, so to speak, your student information system or your application process. We here at All Saints, we use Fax, which used to be RenWeb back in the day. Not 100% thrilled with that, but that's the beast we chose. And so there's where we work right now. It does do some things very well. Again, you guys will know what you're using, but you need to use something. Sorry, I'm doing this because my light keeps turning off. Okay, I'm going to be in the dark for a minute. So you're going to capture the information that you can get. You can't have too much information. After you've captured that information, they've had their assessment, they've had their tour, we have an application for them. Communicate back, tell them what's coming next, tell them what's coming next. These parents need to know what's coming next. For us, usually it's a shadow day, or it's an assessment, or it's a visit with the division head, depending on their age level. Getting those things set up. Even in the time of COVID, even in the time of a pandemic, shadow days are so important here on campus. We start doing shadow days, which may be a half day or a full day with prospective students, first grade. Kindergarten, they come spend a couple hours with us. So if you want to call that a shadow day, you can. But getting that age to spend time with us, depending on what year they're interested in, they may be spending part of their time with the kids they'll be with socially, which means, you know, if they're interested in fourth grade in the fall, they may spend part of their time with third grade students this spring, but then they're also going to spend some time with fourth grade because they need to get to know those teachers as well. So really kind of customizing that schedule so that everybody who needs to see them gets to see them, and that they get to see everybody that they need to see too. It's a bit of a one-up, but boy, howdy, do they feel included? Do they feel a part of things? Do they feel taken care of? Which resonates back with their parents again. Testing, we're a campus that tests starting in kindergarten. Our preschool and pre-Kers don't have to take an assessment, but after that you do if you're new. And so different campuses do that different ways. We do not at this point utilize one of those national type assessments where you can go somewhere and take it. We actually do sort of a hybrid here on campus ourselves. We can also do that remotely. And we've done a lot of remote testing over the last 18 months, or not 18 months, year, as I'm sure others have had to too. But we like to have the person here. So, and our assessors are our division heads. That's just how it's set up here at All Saints. I can assess as well, but our division heads like to be a part of that process. Obviously, this child's going to be in their division. They want to know them and develop a relationship with them as well. But all along during this, the communication back to those parents is mission critical, so that they know where they are. Fax, we're about to start using their online enrollment process, which allows for a family to create their own account and they can log in and see where they are in the process. We're not going to use that to replace our communications with them one-on-one. I love that our folks, I mean, I give my cell number out to everybody. I'll give it to all y'all. You know, it's like, if you ever got a question, day or night, just give me a call and we'll talk about where you are and where your kids are. But just letting them know that there are real people there who really answer the phone and who really care is paramount during the process. It's surprising how many places that doesn't happen, and that truly can be a differentiator.
Okay.
Yay. Okay, so now we've set up assessment. They've taken their assessment, they've had their shadow day. And they said yes. I love that. We offered enrollment to them, and I always like to call that we invite them to enroll in the school, so they get sort of an invitation, which comes of course with paperwork and everything. But they've said yes, and so once we've heard they said yes, we're doing what we're going to do today with my new parents that's coming in a little bit. First thing we do, forms received, we ring the bell, which is one of my favorite things. There is a literal bell outside of my office that a dear parent gave me probably 15, 20 years ago. And when a new family comes in, that child, if they're with us, they get to come ring the bell. Everybody in the whole administration wing can hear it because it's way loud, but they hear it and heads pop out the door and they're like, wait, what? We have a new student. That's the only time the bell rings, is when we have a new student. And to see all the little heads pop out the doors and to see that little child, oftentimes who we've had to pull a chair over so they can stand up to reach the bell, it is so much fun. And we have parents have videoed those, put them up on their Facebook pages, things like that, shared them with us. It's just excitement more than anything else. It's just excitement. It's a tangible output of something we've been working on sometimes for over a year. And because y'all know some of these processes can take a long time. When they've applied when the baby was born and they don't get here till they're 3, we've been working on that a while. And so we love enrollment day. They turn their copy back in. We set up new parent meeting with the necessary team members. The mom who's coming in today, she'll meet with me. She'll meet with my assistant to go over some of the nitty gritty. She's the one who handles all the hard stuff. The business office, institutional advancement. She'll go down and meet with the uniform store lady, anywhere else she might need to go. So we set that all up. It happens in less than an hour, but we move them through all of those folks before their child ever starts. This child's starting tomorrow, by the way. But, and then that's because this child's starting tomorrow. Normally, it's for a child who's not going to start maybe for a couple of months or maybe even 6 months or so, if it's for the next school year. Either way, they get a handwritten note. Kai, who's our new little friend joining us tomorrow, Kai's getting a little note from me tomorrow. I mean, I'm going to mail it today. He'll get it tomorrow. But we're also putting a little bit of swag in there for Kai. You know, Kai needs some All Saints love. And so whatever we happen to have on hand, at the least, it's, you know, it's the pen, it's the mouse pad, it's the bookmark, it's the magnet, it's the bumper sticker, it's the whatever, you know. We'll throw in a spirit shirt probably. Whatever we've got that kind of works for Kai, we'll build a little swag box for him. And either that gets mailed out to that student who said yes, and it's to them, not to their parents, it's to the child, and it's stuff for the child. We'll get that mailed out to them. So that's a little fun thing that can come to them. At the least, the handwritten note. I hear from folks who like, oh yeah, we put that in my child's book. You know, the little note that you sent, that sort of thing, which is so fun. I love that. We lost the note. Can you send another one? I get that every once in a while too. But this is the only time you have to make a first impression. So go out, go all out, be different than your competition. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Paige, that's such an important part of that funnel, is just all of the process. I think what my takeaway from your presentation just is the relational nature of the process. I'd like to, before we go to Melissa, I'd like for Melissa or Aaron, if you guys have, is there anything is this similar to what y'all are doing in your schools? Is there anything that y'all'd like to add to that first part before we go on?
A lot of what they are doing, that Paige said, we do here at St. George. There's a lot of similarities, and I totally agree with what she was talking about. Once they make that inquiry, reply, stay connected with them. That's so important.
Yeah.
100%. Amazing job, Paige. That is exactly the formula we're looking to follow as well. And we try to improve it year to year, and great job.
Yeah. So the whole point of this is for our admissions people, or to understand that whole process from the beginning of the prospect all the way through enrollment. One of my favorite parts, which I hope everybody takes away, is that idea of the bell. I think that's really a cool idea, and it'd be easy for everybody to get a bell, and it just makes you feel special, right? So I want to turn now that we've got people in, they're enrolled. They're here. I think it's really critical that we talk about how do we really make them feel like they're part of a family. So I'm going to let Melissa talk a little bit about ways in which they onboard new families.
Hello, everybody. I'm Melissa Patterson. I am the Director of Admissions at St. George Episcopal School. And just as I was repeating what Paige said about respond, once they contract, it is important to stay connected. You know, they have made that commitment to your school, and don't disappear. Stay in touch with them. You know, personal contact and continued communication are key in reinforcing that family's decision in choosing your school. So make sure you stay, you know, present with these families. And one way, invite families to spring events or school programs. It's a great opportunity for new families to meet and interact with your school's community, and for them to feel like part of your school family even before their school year begins. St. George invites families to our gala that we have. We have a middle school musical, and that's a big one. That's a way for children to look and go, oh my gosh, I want to get involved in that when I get to St. George, so that, you know, they get really excited about that. We have an art show. And so we invite families for that. New families love attending these events because they can picture their children here and they can picture them being involved. So another thing to do is include new families in community emails. If your school sends out an electronic newsletter, include new families sooner than later. They want to see what's going on. They want to know what's going on at your school. We include ours in the March timeframe when we've received the bulk of our contracts already. If you don't have a newsletter, if you don't do that on a regular basis, consider sending out emails of school highlights, maybe a few times a month, showcasing student successes or maybe some campus activities such as sports or community events. Again, new families are eager to know more about the school, you know, because the one they chose us for their child and they want to see what's going on.
You know, Melissa, one thing that occurs to me about this is that we cannot leverage word of mouth enough in our schools. And when you do that, when you connect this new family to what's happening, what I think happens is the new family wants other people to do what they're doing. So they're going to go out and tell people what their decision was and try to get other folks to join with them. I mean, we all know that that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder about that marketing. It feels like it's a hidden marketing opportunity.
Yes, and there are numerous ways with onboarding that you get that advantage.
Right.
We here at St. George, we send out what we call an informative email. We do that around May. It includes information talking about school activities, annual events, volunteer opportunities, athletics, clubs. We also include a contact list for our administration, the staff, a who do I call list, who do I call and talk to about uniforms, recycled uniforms, or they want to know about their bill, paying their bill, or immunization and medical records, or just things, how do I get involved in this? New families are anxious and they want to get information before summer starts because they kind of feel like, you know, that connection is going to kind of fade off over the summertime. This is a great way to answer questions in advance without them having to reach out to you and ask those questions. So it's just a plethora of information that you can include in there. Another way to onboard families, invite them to join your social media accounts. This one is huge for St. George. Our invitation goes out when a parent contracts, we send out an email that says, welcome to St. George. We're so glad that you have chosen our school. And in that email, we include the account information we use Facebook and Instagram. And then we include that information for them. You know, again, they're eager to learn more about the daily life at your school and seeing activities that their child may experience once they're on campus. They want to get involved. They want to see that. My assistant actually makes a point to explore the campus almost on a daily basis and to go out and see what's going on. She stays connected with the teachers If the teacher has some kind of activity going on in their classroom and they're like, oh my gosh, we need to share this with the community, they'll contact her and she'll go into the classroom and she'll take pictures and such as that. And then we post, as I said, we post almost on the daily, something that's going on here on campus. Be sure to include all grade levels. Don't just focus on your lower ones, make sure you include all the way from your whatever grade levels you have. But ours is 4 years of age all the way up through 8th grade, because you want to reach everybody. You want to reach all those new families and they can go, oh my gosh, look at what they're doing. I'm so excited for my child to get involved in that. And so social media is a big one for us. The parents just love it. We get comments all the time about that. So, okay, another thing to do, involve your current families. Have them set up some grade level get-togethers or use a buddy system that they can organize for you. These are a great way for new families and students to create friendships, to ask questions, and also to make connections to your school's community. Ask a handful of current parents in each grade level to organize the get-togethers for that same grade level. In the past, we've had them at the park, we've had them at family-friendly restaurants, we've had them here on our playground. And it's just a way for families to really connect with each other. We used to focus only on a one-to-one buddy system, and that worked pretty well for us. And we still use it. If the get-togethers are done and we have new enrollment, we'll do a one-to-one buddy system. We'll reach out to a family and ask them to contact that family. But we went to these grade level get-togethers because we found that some families just weren't clicking with each other. And maybe the connections weren't being made, the connections that we were hoping for. So the grade level get-togethers, it allows opportunity to make selective connections with other parents, that probably fit their personalities or their child's personalities better. So it allows for more connections also between the parents and the students. Another onboarding event that we host prior to school beginning is the ice cream social. This event is not for the entire school community. It is for our new families and their kiddos. They have the opportunity to come in, they get to meet their teachers, they get to meet the administration, and the parents or current families who hosted those summer get-togethers are also present, just to kind of, be that familiar face to come in. We enjoy ice cream together. It's a smaller environment that is conducive to asking and answering questions. And as I said, the kiddos get to meet their teachers on a more personal basis and also get to see other kiddos and meet kiddos that are going to be new in their grade level. So that's a lot of fun. We do that one in the evening, ice cream and refreshments, and it's just a lot of fun. Another way, consider having your parent association arrange a mixer for the parents of your new students. Also invite your faculty and staff, your PTO, or we call it PTO, parent teacher organization, is also present. We have finger foods and drinks. It's another opportunity for introductions and to answer the many questions that parents are going to have. We do this in the summer. We usually do this about mid-summer. New families are looking for ways to get involved. And PTO, of course, arranges a lot of our activities and events here at school. So it gives them the chance to talk to them and find out how they can get involved in activities that they sponsor. Let's see here. So student orientations. We actually have those the day before school starts, and we do our lower school in the morning. It's a 2-hour event, and then we do middle school in the afternoon for 2 hours also. It doesn't, we don't want overcrowding on the campus. It just allows for the kids to really be able to take their time and walk around. It's a come and go as you want event. They come in and they get to go into their classrooms. They get to meet their teachers. They get to see where they're going to sit. They get to meet, again, other new kiddos. They get to walk the campus, go into the art room, the computer room, the library, and just become familiar with the campus. And parents can come, grandparents can come if they want to. They can talk with the teachers. And for the older kiddos, They get to get their schedules, they get to see where their lockers are and get their locks and practice those combinations. And they're here for 2 hours. They can come and go as they want and just kind of explore. So when school starts the next day, it's that, I know where I am. I know these people. I'm familiar with this. When they say we're going to art, they're like, okay, I know where the art room is. So it's not unknown to them. So
Melissa, one of the things that occurs to me, of course, again with COVID, there are ways that you could clearly do this. If you can't have loads of people on campus, you can, do smaller groups, or, I guess if you had to do like a Zoom meeting or like a virtual thing, you could do that as well, right? Don't you think?
yes, we are a school that has been on campus from day one, even though COVID has been present. We started school on campus. And what we did in the beginning of this school year is we brought in grade levels at certain times, like you said. We brought them in for a short amount of period and just brought them in throughout the day. We may have to approach it in a similar fashion this coming August. We don't know, but we have plans for that. But we are hoping to be back to normal, where we can just all come onto campus and have our lower school here. We have to plan for both. We have to be prepared for both. And so just, be sure that you're doing that. Don't plan for one and then find yourself in a situation where you're going, oh my gosh, we didn't think it was going to still be like this. Plan for both.
Yeah.
So
Plan for the worst and hope for the best, right?
Exactly. So a final thing that we do here is about a week after school starts, our administration reaches out to the new parents. And we make that connection. It's, hey, checking in to see how your kiddos are doing. Did you have any questions? Please know that I am here. You can always reach out to me if you have questions. We have every school year, anywhere from 100, 110 new students on campus. Of course, families, it's not that many. So we divvy up that list with our administration. I don't do the calling because I've been connecting with the families all along. And so our admin team divvies up that list, and they reach out, just have a conversation to make that connection and make sure that their questions have been answered, and to see how your child's week went. We want to know, we want to know, and what can we do to help you, or is there something that we can do better? So that's our connection with the families.
I really like that idea, Melissa. Thank you for that, because I think it's critical that it's not just the admissions person that's always doing the connecting, right?
Yeah.
And so it shows that everyone at the school cares about that family. And so that's awesome. Thank you, Melissa. Those are great. Those are great suggestions, and definitely,
thank you, Paige.
Definitely something that we're all trying to do is find ways to make people feel welcome, right? Yes. So, okay, Aaron is our last panelist, and I'm excited because he's got some really, I think, tactical advice about the retention of current students. So, Aaron, take it away.
Thank you, Mary Katherine. I asked her to go last so I could rush through, because I want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions at the end. First of all, I have a rule when it comes to webinars and conferences, and that's not to walk away with 3 pages of notes and 20 additional to-do items that we're all busy and feel overwhelmed by. So usually I like to have 2 or 3 takeaways. So from Paige and Melissa, thank you. The bell and the special invite to social media is my 2 takeaways from this session. So thank you so much for those 2 takeaways. Hopefully I can add 1 more to everyone out there. So I'll start with our first slide there, which we've all heard, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. Obviously from an admissions standpoint, it's cheaper and less time consuming for us to keep a student than it is to attract a new student. So let's take a look at the importance of student retention, or if you're a glass half empty person, student attrition. And so hopefully everyone here tracks their attrition rate. NAIS, National Association of Independent Schools, has a formula that they have us use to help standardize the percent. There's different formulas that are out there, but hopefully your school has a formula that works for you. You track that number, and like I said, I'd recommend the NAIS because it's great to be able to compare your attrition rates with other schools across the country. For those of you that are members of NAIS, you have access to Dazzle, which is a phenomenal resource, which you can track all sorts of phenomenal data by region, by school size, by school gender, by Episcopal, by whatever, however you want to track data, you can do that through Dazzle, which is a great resource. So,
hey, and Aaron, real quick before you go further, for those that may not really understand the difference between retention and attrition, I would love for you to just they're two sides of the same coin, but would you just kind of simplify that for us?
Yeah. So attrition is going to calculate based on this formula the percent of your students that aren't re-enrolling. So that's going to give, so for example, the NAIS average is about 8 to 9% of your students will not re-enroll for a variety of reasons based on this formula right here. Student retention obviously is the flip side of that. It's how can we keep students that are currently enrolled, how can we get them to re-enroll and stay at our schools through matriculation. So you can attack it from either side, but like you said, it ends up being the same thing in terms of retention or attrition. NAIS and a lot of folks track the attrition rate versus the retention rate. So that's why we're going to talk a little bit about the formula, and we'll go into a case study here. I'm using TMI as our case study. If you go to the next slide there. So TMI has 480 students, grades 6 through 12. We graduate about 85 seniors each year. Like I mentioned before, average attrition rate for a school our size region's about 9%. So I said, okay, if attrition is 8%, how many new students do we need to enroll to hit our enrollment goal of 480 students? And the answer is 125 new students. If our attrition is a little bit high, if we don't do such a hot job of retaining our students, and our attrition rate is 12%, I'm going to need 142 new students to retain that 480 student enrollment. So that's a difference of 17 new students for your office to overcome. So when we look at, hey, what is the importance of retaining our students and keeping a low attrition rate? This is the reason why it's so important. The additional manpower, money, resources it's going to take to enroll an additional 17 students is huge. We'll flip to the next slide here. Collecting data and, do we want to do a poll question there?
Yeah, I think we're going to do a poll question. So this will be in the chat zone. So rather than a question, if you will enter into the chat the question that Aaron's going to ask.
Yes. So the question is, what type of retention data do you collect from your families?
So we want to know what kind of things you collect when it comes to retention. Aaron, can you give us a little bit more, like specifically what would that look like?
Sure. Go ahead and flip to that next slide or can we? There we go. I included a couple of screenshots here, and collecting data is crucial in attacking attrition rates and student retention. So for us, since 1992, we've been tracking our historical data in terms of enrollment, tuition, inquiries, applicants, gender balance, male-female population, our demographics, religious preference. So we have about 25 to 30, and if anybody wants our full list, I'll be glad to share it with you. Sharing is caring, so I believe that if we all work together and have great ideas and share those, it's going to help everyone involved. So these are the data points that I collect, and we'd love to hear what different data points you collect in terms of attrition, retention, and just overall historical tracking.
Yeah, Aaron, I was going to tell you a quick story. One of the things when I first learned about attrition, one of the reasons that this is so critical is because it gives you an understanding of where you might be losing students. And I didn't ever do this for a long time. And then somebody taught me how to do it. And so we began to watch how many kids we were losing at the 4-year-old level from 4K to kinder. And I went back and did some data, some back data, some historical data to take a look at it. And what I realized is that we were losing significant kids from 4K to kinder. We didn't know that because we weren't collecting the data in order to know that. And so I think to the point of somebody that maybe is a smaller school that that thinks, well, why would I do that? That's the reason, because sometimes you can really not realize that there's a particular area where you're losing the most kids. And then you can go in there and you can really specifically work at that area to try to retain those students, right? So I think that's the reason. If you don't really know why you would do it, that's a practical example of why I had to do it.
Don't be afraid to ask why. When a family leaves your school, don't be afraid to have those honest conversations and utilize the relationship you built to get that response from them. So
Yeah,
you can
I
see
think
on the right-hand side there, we track, these are just some of the categories we track, but like Mary Katherine said, you can always keep diving into that data to try to find different reasons. You know, we track involuntary versus voluntary attrition. Is it behavior, academic, emotional? Did they leave because of financial reasons, relocation, TMI programs? And you may go through a few years and nothing really stands out. And then all of a sudden you may go back and realize, wow, there's a trend developing here. And the more data you collect, the more information you have. You can always go back, run different reports and keep analyzing that information. We'll go to the next slide there.
Before we move on,
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to share, one of our participants shared their data profile. So they track grade level data and then try to pinpoint if the reasons are program, financial, relocation, or personal in nature when they're dealing with an trip.
that's good.
Excellent. So this is the last slide here. So, increasing student retention. I mentioned know and share your data. The share your data really pertains to your leadership team. Don't collect all this data and then sit on the data and know your data and then not do something about it. And so if you see an issue within the athletic department, if you see kiddos leaving because there's an imbalance, too many boys in the school, if students are unhappy with your foreign language program, I mean, these are things that you're obligated to reach out to your leadership team and share why those families are leaving, and then have the data to back it up, and then have those really honest and difficult conversations with that information. So know and share your data. Continue to foster student and parent relationships. We have such, in the admissions office, we have such close relationships with our new families that come in, because as they're looking at schools, they're sharing their life with us. They're sharing their hopes, their goals for their students. We're learning about family members that are getting cancer treatment. We're learning about a deceased parent. We're learning about a student that excels and does gymnastics. We're learning all these wonderful things about the family. Don't give up on that relationship after they're in the rest of your community. Continue to foster and build those. And then later on, that's going to come in handy when it comes to student retention and maintaining those relationships. This past summer, I had a family that had been texting me and calling me. Are they going to re-enroll? Are they not going to re-enroll? Pandemic, academic concerns. And I'm having a phone call conversation with them at 8:30 at night. And I'm thinking to myself, and finally I said to the parent, you've texted me 52 times. We've had 22 conversations. Now, when your little Billy goes to Clark High School next week, if you decide to leave, who are you going to call over there? Who's going to listen to you? Who's going to take this time that we take in this relationship that we've built with you? And I think that made a huge difference. Retention and student support committees. Most schools have this. If you don't, I think it's a great resource in terms of student retention. It doesn't matter what you call it, how it comes about. Some admission offices have a retention committee where it's really driven by admissions and re-enrollment, and we want to keep kids here that are currently here. Some schools have a student support committee that's headed up by the chaplain and the counselor, the division heads, and they focus on student success and kids that are struggling and how to support them. Either way you do it, whichever way it works better for your school, I think it's important to have some sort of committee that takes a look at students that are having any types of challenges, struggles, because we want them to be successful. We want them to matriculate and stay at our schools through graduation. And the last one, it sounds too obvious, too good to be true, but enrolling the right students. As the admissions office, we're in charge of marketing, we're in charge of open houses, we're in charge of setting the table for what our parents can expect when they come to our schools. And it's important that that what we're setting up, what we're informing parents about is accurate and is going to be reflective of their experience at our school as close as possible. If we're doing our job, if we're enrolling the right kids that are mission appropriate, then the chances of them having success, being happy, and staying at your school dramatically increase. We all love taking risk on great kids. We feel like our schools could change their lives, and I would never want to discourage a school from doing that. But at the same time, if we take too many of those risks, if we take too many chances, if we don't make sure we're enrolling the right students, what we're going to see is a rise in attrition, and we don't want to see that happen. So enrolling the right students, as obvious as it sounds, is my last thought there on student retention. So I'll pass it on to you, Mary Katherine, for the Q&A.
That's a great point, Aaron. I think I do think, and David may have a thought about this as well, but I do think that sometimes we, in our desire to get enrollment up or to keep people, we can that last point can kind of go by the wayside, and we can go, well, we need rear ends in the seats. And the truth is that we need the right fit. And I think that's a great point.
Well, and that's why I really push back when boards want to set hard and fast enrollment number goals for their either admissions team or their head. By setting a hard and fast, okay, we want to have X number of students next year, you may unintentionally be incentivizing bad admissions practices. And what I mean by that is you want to have the right families.
Right.
You want to have goals about number of inquiries. You want to have goals about number of events that you're doing. There are other things that you can quantify if you want to quantify. But I always get nervous when an enrollment number is set as a goal for a head, because what you're basically saying is the number is more important than the blend. And I'm not sure if that's right.
Yeah, I agree. So Paige put something in here. I think this is a good question. And Aaron, you may want to answer it. In terms of exit interviewing, I know everybody does exit interviews in a different way. How do you recommend that exit interviews or exit surveys be done?
Yeah, I think it's important to have several different methods to do this, because based on the manner in which a student leaves, you could have one option that tends to be the better option, or another option. So I think it's great to have a monkey survey or something that allows you to send out a questionnaire for families to go through. I think it's also important to have an in-person interview or phone interview that can allow a parent to, maybe they didn't want to put it in writing, but because of your relationship that you've built with them, they're willing to have that conversation one-on-one. So have a couple of different avenues that you can go through with a parent, and then whichever one I think works best in the situation. But don't let a parent just go without that closure. The last thing you want to do is have an angry parent just spouting off their venom to the community. And I think by having that interview, letting them know that they've been heard and listened to, I think it really helps them go away and close the chapter if it's not a good fit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. I think, and I think that's something that our bigger schools do pretty well. Sometimes our smaller schools don't even realize they should be doing that. And so this idea of an exit survey, at our school years ago, whenever we did this, we actually had the exit survey sent to the board secretary. And I don't know if that's best practice or not, but it was helpful, because what it did is it allowed there to be a third party. If there was not that this would happen, but if there was a survey that said Mary Katherine Duffy's the worst head of school on the planet, it needed to not come back to Mary Katherine Duffy. So in small schools and small communities, I think it is a little different than maybe in the bigger communities. So I like your point about the variety of ways in which you might get that information. So good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, Mary Katherine, we're right at the top of the hour. And so we don't need to all run away but I
No,
do
but-
want to honor people's time. I'm going to stop the
For
recording.
sure.
So let me thank so much our panelists.
Yes, it's been
Paige,
great.
Melissa, Aaron, thank you all so much. We're going to hang around for a few more minutes to see if there's any other live questions. I'm happy to answer those. But otherwise, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And thank you so much for joining us.
Great information.